fields are ready. Most of the players will be here by tomorrow. Training camp is just around the corner, and Lions fans more excited than ever to get their favorite team back to work on the practice field starting at the end of this week. Hello and welcome, everybody. Tom Lydon, happy to be joined by former Lions tight end Rob Rubick for our inaugural edition of the Ford Lions Report Live, and it is good to see you, my friend.
Well, you know how much I love training camp. I left the lake up north to come down, and I was perch fishing. The perch are finally turning on, and I had to come down there for training camp, but I'm ready.
Yeah, the best part about training camp for you is that you're not playing.
That's right. I don't have to hobble out there with this bad wheel.
Well, there are plenty of things to get to, and Rob and I have put together what we think might be the three top headlines for the Lions as training camp starts, and we think that Cliff Avrill's absence these first couple of days may at least be stealing some of the headlines to start the action.
Yeah, a little bit, but we're going to see Cliff. I mean, he really has no options. If you look at Cliff Avrill, his choice is to sit out the entire season. That's a year of age you never get back, and that's money you're never going to recoup. Or he can sign the tender and come in. I think he will. I think Cliff's biggest concern maybe is his health. He was looking for a long-term deal. It just didn't work out that Tom LeWan could get that done, whether it's cap issues they have, because they are pretty strapped against the cap right now. But I think we will see Cliff before all is said and done.
You know, Cliff has consistently put up bigger and bigger numbers every year. Some people have said that he is the benefactor of those around him. You don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, you know, because he's a rush end. Most of the time he's having to tackle one-on-one on the outside. They may chip a back or keep a tight end in. But what happens to the inside with the guards and centers, they're concentrating on the two big fellas. So I don't really use that as an excuse. I see his speed. You know, Coach Schwartz, we're going to talk to in a minute here, he'll attest to it too. This kid is something special coming off the edge. He's going to be taken care of. It's just not going to happen right now, but he is, I mean, 10.6. You know, I could live on that. I don't know about you.
Pretty good deal. All right, headline number 2. You've been reading about it throughout the offseason. Tons of distractions off the field. A lot of good news, the fact that Calvin was signed to a long-term deal, but a lot of bad news as well. 7 arrests, which the organization has had to deal with. How do you think that will affect these first couple of days of camp, if at all?
I think Coach Schwartz can make a positive out of this. Number one is I'm glad he come. You know what? You're privileged. You have an opportunity to do something that many people get to do, and that's play in the NFL. They ruined that opportunity, not once but twice. And when you're a repeat offender like that, they don't have that opportunity to come back. And I think you have to cut ties sooner or later, Tom. And that's what Coach Schwartz did. He's sending a message to the rest of the team, and hopefully it'll have that trickle-down effect, and we'll see the outcome at the end of the season with a much smoother running ship.
Well, with the departure of Aaron Berry, and that just happened a couple of days ago, the question remains, how much of a hole or how much of a challenge will it be to fill that defensive secondary?
It is going to be a challenge, because that's one of the toughest positions to predict, is the secondary. Coming out of college, you see a lot of zone coverages, not a lot of man-to-man, so usually you have a chance to develop corners. Or with Eric Wright leaving, and all you have is Houston on the one side, and with Aaron Berry being released now, you have a hole to fill. But there's a lot of capable cornerbacks coming into this training camp, and they'll just kind of shake it out. Whoever plays the best is going to get a great opportunity this season.
I think a lot of the guys have to look at it that way, and that's what training camp and the preseason games
Absolutely.
are for. So those are our headlines. Now we bring in the man who hopefully will provide some of the answers. Head coach Jim Schwartz entering his 4th year as the man in charge here. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. This is about as calm as this field's going to be for about the next month.
What goes through your mind in the days leading up to your team reporting?
You know, it's a calm at this time of year. You know, you build the whole off season to get ready to begin training camp. And I'm not just talking about the coaches or the players. I'm talking about, you know, the cafeteria staff, the grounds crew, you know, getting these fields ready. They were painting them up today, still putting water on them right now. Everybody's been geared to this spot, and if you do a good job of preparation, you're pretty calm this time.
Well, you were sitting right next to us as we went through those headlines. You dealt with everything we just discussed, trying to fill the secondary holes, the off-field distractions, Cliff Avrill, will he get a long-term deal or not? Do you understand that that's what fans are thinking about right now as this training camp starts?
Yeah, you know, we get that. We get that the fans are, you know, concerned and very interested, but I know this, when the players hit the field on Friday afternoon, all of those concerns won't be at the forefront of their mind. It won't even affect them. They're going to go out and practice. They're going to work their technique. They're going to compete to improve. They're going to compete to make the team or to earn a starting position. It's an opportunity, like Rob said, in the secondary for other players. We have quality players there. We drafted 3 corners this year, including one fairly early. Those guys have looked good. This is a tremendous opportunity for some people, even at defensive end. You know, Cliff's not going to be here at the beginning. It's an opportunity for other players to show what they can do. And, you know, I think that the only thing anybody's going to be thinking about is what they're doing on the field and trying to put their best foot forward and not worrying about what other guys are going through or what other guys have been through this offseason.
Coach, as a former player, we always dreaded going to training camp. As a coach, what do you dread the most about the next 3 to 4 weeks?
Nah, the only thing that's really on a coach's mind this time is injuries. You know, you always know that when you play the game, injuries are sort of part of the NFL, but you hate to lose anybody during camp. Injuries are a fact of life in the NFL. But that's probably about the only thing that we really worry about. You're so busy working on all the things you need to work on. You know, you have your base offense, your base defense, third down, red zone, 2-minute, 4-minute, short yardage, goal line, backed up, every different situation that you're trying to get through and you're trying to teach and learn from. You know, 15 days after we start, we play our first preseason game. There's not a whole lot of time to think about anything other than getting that team ready.
Since the day you signed your first contract, you said you wouldn't talk about any contract, and I know you're going to stay true to that word, but the fact is you did sign an extension, which is good news for you. I think it's good news for the organization, too, because it takes what could be a distraction away this season, and it also says both ways that both parties are pretty happy with the way things have gone. It's been nothing but a steady climb upward since you've gotten here in 2009. Can you talk a little bit about what you like about being here and why you want to see this thing through to the finish?
Well, we've made a lot of progress in 3 years so far. You know, our first year, we were just trying to win a game, you know, and that was a monumental task for us, just to win a game. You know, our second year, we became a competitive team. We only won 6 games, but we were competitive in just about every game we played, including in our own division. You know, we took a step there. We weren't talking about losing streaks anymore. We were talking about ending on winning streaks. We put, you know, we exercised some demons with some road losing streaks and division losing streaks and things like that. Last year, we were able to get to the playoffs, which is something that hadn't been done in a while. So, you know, there has been progress. We don't measure ourselves by progress. We measure ourselves by the final goal. You know, but things have been progressing. We can't take that for granted. We need to know that how we do this year has nothing to do with what happened last year. It has to do with the team we put on the field, how we practice, how we start the opening day. You know, everything that's going to go on this year is a result of the 53 guys that'll be in that locker room, the 90 that'll be in training camp this year, nothing else.
How about Riley Reef, guy who comes in here after a very successful collegiate career at the tackle position? You seem relatively set at that position with both Chairless and Backus, a guy who's been doing it for so long at such a high level. What do you expect of Riley, and how much are you going to tinker with where he might play during this training camp?
Well, all our offensive linemen move around, particularly backup players and young players. That experience of playing a lot of different positions is important for not only their development, but also their knowledge of how everything works together. So you'll see Riley moving around, left tackle, right tackle, might even play some guard in there, as will a lot of other players. You know, young tackles like Corey Hilliard, Jason Fox, you know, those guys will do the same thing. Riley's a very experienced college player. He's been tutored by some very good coaches at Iowa, a lot of players that have come out of Iowa, very good head coach there that was an offensive line coach in the NFL. He brings a lot of credentials to the table. He's smart, he's big, he's a hard worker. But where he plays and how soon he plays is going to depend nothing on how he does over these 35 days of training camp, how he plays in the preseason games. It's not going to be where we drafted him or how much money he made or a sign-in bonus or, you know, the color of his T-shirt. It's going to be how he does in those practices. And from that standpoint, you know, we're in a pretty good position there. We have players that are returning. We can afford to make the best decision at that position.
Well, it is always good to talk to you. We appreciate the perspective. Thanks for keeping us straight on our headlines, and we will see you on the practice field this Friday.
All right, thanks.
All right, stay with us. We're just getting started here on the Ford Lions Report Live. Coming up after the break, our Brad Galley sits down with the captain, one of them, Dominic Raiola. He's another veteran. Here's a little sneak peek at what they talked about.
I want to, you know, raise this city up in the football sense. I mean, I've seen it, you know, I've seen it done in all other phases of the sports in the city, and to see it, you know, done with the Lombardi Trophy, I think that'd be pretty amazing going down Woodward.